Hey guys, welcome to this PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds Tips and Tricks video. The game has just come out in preview, so I thought I'd bring you guys some useful information, just in case you have no idea what you're doing in a Battle Royale style shooter, which are extremely difficult games to master. It doesn't matter how good you are, it's going to be impossible to win every time, or even come in the top 10 every time, as there are 99 other players to fight against, and there are elements of luck to it as well. But these beginner tips and tricks will certainly maximize your chances of survival, and that's what the games really are about, survival. Whether it be running and hiding or killing other players, the last player alive wins, so don't think this as a traditional FPS. The game is all about that final circle. How you get there is up to you. It's okay to go the whole game with no kills, but to win, you're going to have to get a few, or at least one, so you need to be prepared as possible for the final circle showdown. So here are 5 tips that will hopefully help you out. Number 1, the drop. This is the very first thing you do in game, drop from the plane onto the map, and your decision here is going to be very important. The plane's trajectory will be different every time, but it always does pass roughly over the center of the map, so you can always do a bit of pre-planning. Dropping into the center of the map, or one of the map's bigger towns, then you're going to have a much more easy time of finding loot and vehicles, but you're also putting yourself at more risk, as there will be higher amounts of other players doing the same thing, which is dangerous for you to be fighting over resources, but it could potentially pay off in the end. On the other hand, you can parachute to the outskirts of the map, and yes, while there will be less players to compete against, it will be a dangerous journey to travel to the center of the circle, especially if you're quite far away from it, with that blue wall closing in behind you as well. And the biggest threat will be traveling those big open spaces. It puts you at huge risk of being shot from a distance. You can occasionally come across vehicles, which will definitely improve your odds, but they are much rarer away from higher risk areas. And in fact, there is a useful map here we checked out in an earlier video that you can use to determine a good place to go when you first land. It's no secret that the most valuable commodity for you to get will be a vehicle. It's going to increase your chances of survival greatly. It's even possible to survive until the final 10 simply by driving around and getting to those new zones as they appear. So plan your jumps on trying to get one and use the map to help. And if you see one while parachuting, it's always best to go for that before any weapons, as they are far more difficult to come across than any weapon is. You can then take it to drive to the furthest parts of the map that you can, where you should be able to loot plenty of items relatively uncontested. It's always the safest option to travel anywhere outside of the parachute drop zone as well, as most don't venture past there when they land. The majority of people just head straight down when they jump out of the plane, and then they search there, and then head towards the center. But you do get an initial 5 minutes before the blue wall starts to close in, so it might be worth your while parachuting a little bit out of the way to try and get loot without any trouble. Of course, it is much easier to get caught out this way from the blue wall as it closes in. If you do choose to loot in one of the bigger towns and cities, you'll have much more luck in finding good loot, as every building has loot and towns have lots of buildings. But you're on the time limit, so getting to know the types of buildings in and around the towns and cities will be very useful for you. Large apartment buildings, generally houses, a lot of basic loot, but with many doors and large flights of stairs, they take a long time to search alone. 2-story buildings are very common and offer a solid amount of loot, both on the top and bottom floor, but they also have plenty of entrances and exits in case other players attempt to rush you. Single-story buildings with more than one entrance offer you the ability to clear with speed while staying on the bottom floor and moving out a separate doorway than you came in. Warehouses often have higher tier loot, but only a few spawn locations within them. With big doorways on either side of the building and a lot of cover inside, they offer a great one-time pass-through. Finally, one of the big locations to loot are restaurants in the bigger towns, which are easy to go in and out and have high loot. Finally, on the point of the drop and where to drop, one quick tip is when you're parachuting, it is of course super important to get to the ground as quick as possible. If you hold up on the controller so you're facing head first downwards towards the ground, it will increase your falling speed. And this is super important because if you fall faster, you'll be able to open your parachute a little bit closer to the ground, so you land quicker than everyone else. At least quicker than anyone else who's not doing the same thing. So this can give you an advantage to get new vehicles and get to the good loot first. Now it goes without saying that a weapon is your most important piece of loot. And that brings us to point number 2, understanding loot and gear. But there are loads of other useful items in the game, and getting to know them well and what to pick up as you're limited to carry weight and when to use other items like health can all increase your odds of reaching that final hurdle. Now after weapons, your top priority should be a backpack, helmet, and armor. Backpacks are awesome as they give an increased carry limit, so you can carry and turn more stuff and you can never have too much loot in this game. If you run out of space, you're going to have to make a decision on what to leave behind, and it's probably going to be something valuable. So finding a backpack if you can is important. They come in 3 levels, increase your carry capacity by up to 250 points, but even a level 1 backpack will increase your carry capacity by 150, so it's going to make a big difference to your game. Next, you want to try and find body armor, aka the bulletproof vest, which can be the difference between life and death in a firefight. It comes in 3 different levels as well. Obviously, the higher level, the better the protection you have, but even the level 1 armor is decent if it's all you have. Remember, body armor can also increase your carry capacity by 50 as well, so it's definitely worth picking up. Finally, for armor, you have the helmet, and this is not only important for protecting you from damage, but also can save your life from getting a headshot death. The level 1 and 2 helmets are great, but you can still get one-shot kill from them. The level 3 will stop that from happening though, so you want to make sure you have a helmet equipped and a level 3 one if possible. When it comes to items, it's really important to know the difference between all your healing, like health kits, bandages, painkillers, energy drinks, and so on. So using the right one at the right time can save your life. Something like medkits can heal you up to 100%, but take a long time to apply. So if you're healing during a firefight, it might take too long and you will get shot. Bandages can heal you quickly, but only up to 75%. The best choice is probably a first aid kit, which heals you up to 75%, but happens straight away rather than over time. Energy drinks, painkillers, and the more rare adrenaline shot are boosters and can heal you past 75%, but those are over time as well. And you need to learn which ones to use and when, because some of them last longer, some of them are quicker to use, and the different ones are useful in different situations. So it's important, especially as you get to the end game, to have a good supply of first aid kits and boosters to help you survive as long as possible, as you will undoubtedly take damage before you get here, and if you don't have full health here, you're at a big disadvantage. Tip number 3 is circle awareness. Now, it doesn't matter how well equipped you are or prepared, the number one way in which people die for certain when first starting out is being killed by the circle. As you play the game, the map has an ever-decreasing play space to force players together. And if you get caught outside of the decreasing circle, you're going to start to quickly lose health until you get back into the circle. Most people don't make it. So blue circle awareness is the next tip, and you can see where it is on your map. But it is very important to keep an eye on where it is at all times, especially if you're on the outskirts of the play zone, or you just drop from the plane, and the actual circle is going to decrease and it's on the other side of the map, but you've only got 5 minutes to get there, and you don't have a vehicle, it can be easy to get caught out. Fortunately, there is a message on screen that warns you to get to the next safe zone, so you shouldn't forget. A bit of pre-planning, so you are into the next zone by the time the blue wall starts to move, can prevent you running for your life in a large open space where you can get picked off easily. Tip number 4 is making the most of your controls, and first and most important feature is your third-person camera. You can switch to first person, but third person is going to be so much easier for you because you can see over things, you can see around corners, you can essentially keep yourself hidden while periscoping for enemy players around corners. So it's a big advantage to maximize this feature. Everyone has the same camera, but not everyone takes the time to use it to its full potential. Sometimes as well, it's not all about the killing, especially as most of the time it will give away your location. So looking around a corner to see what's there, looking out a window to see an enemy player pass, is an extremely useful tool to have. Don't forget, you can also rotate the camera in third person all the way around while sprinting by holding down RB and moving the camera to look behind you, and that way you can see what's going on. You can also pick up your map while sprinting as well to see where the blue circle is if you're close to it. Now, the Xbox version obviously doesn't have anything like hotkeys or anything similar, so you're going to have to try and remember all the different buttons and combinations to get the most out of things, and the same buttons will be used for different things depending on the situation. So learning the controls is definitely something to do. Check out all the full control lists to make sure you're doing everything you can. Like, a common new player question is, how do I reload, as it's not immediately obvious, and you have to hold the reload button, which is X. All that can be found in the control menu, so it's definitely worth checking out to make sure that you're using all the buttons available to you. Number 5, finally, is the weapon and weapon choices. What kind of weapons are you looking to use? Because there are loads available for you to loot, along with plenty of weapon upgrades. And the weapons you choose can make a big impact on the game, and certain weapons are good for different situations. At the start, when you first land, using a melee weapon, like the frying pan, or another basic weapon, such as the crossbow or the pistol, can all be good in 1v1 against a similar weapon, or an unarmed player who just landed beside you. But for the end game, the final circle, these are not going to be good enough, so you want to ditch these as soon as possible for better things. A perfect loadout for early game is any rifle to give you a chance when traveling between buildings in those open spaces, and a shotgun, a perfect weapon when looting buildings, especially on Xbox with low auto aim and slow aiming because you're using a controller. So shotguns are deadly when it comes to confined quarters. Aiming a rifle indoors is pretty tough, and a pistol or a melee weapon takes a lot more time to get kills. For the end game, the preferred loadout would be for most people to have an assault rifle and a sniper rifle if you can. And if you want to take out players from as far away as possible, the closer you get to another player, the more likely you are to take damage. Shotguns, well inside are good in an open field or open areas, and the final part of the match is probably going to end in a big open area. There might be 1 or 2 small buildings, but a lot of the time you'll find yourself hiding behind a tree or something like that. So pistols are melee weapons to begin with, if it's all you have. A shotgun is best for looting buildings, and an assault rifle and sniper rifle for the end game to help you kill people at a distance or as far away as possible as you can. Of course, it's easier said than done to get that stuff, but ultimately that should be your aim if you're just starting out. For weapon mods and attachments, just equip any that you have as soon as you get them, whatever you have. Make sure, especially for an assault rifle, to equip the 4x magnification scope and a suppressor as 2 of the 3 mods if you have them, as that's a pretty deadly mod combo, especially having the suppressor, which means that you can shoot people without giving away your location. But guys, that is my top 5 tips for beginners on Xbox One. Find your drops and get to know the towns and cities of the maps, where it's best to loot, where vehicles spawn, what's best to get first. 2, get to know your loot. You have limited space, so what's best to prioritize, and what you should discard if you run out of space. 3, awareness, keep an eye on the blue circle, as many while looking out for players get killed by the blue wall. Number 4, make the most of your camera and learn the controls. Make sure you know how to heal, how to reload, how to drive and change seat quickly, so you can fire a gun if you need to, how to switch grenades, and how to do other stuff like how to heal using your D-pad, and how to switch from single fire to burst fire if you need to as well. Finally, use the right weapon for the right situation, and equip mods if you have them. If you follow these, then you should definitely start to improve at the game if you're a beginner and struggling to reach that final 10. Anyway, as always, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to leave a like below, guys. The support is greatly appreciated on the channel, so that would be really awesome. Subscribe if you're new around for similar videos to this one, and I will catch you guys next time with a brand new video. Peace out.